Welcome back. All right, news video for your Thursday, November the 3rd, as it starts getting kind of chilly around here, but compared to the rest of Canada, it's not chilly. So it's actually kind of nice compared to the rest of Canada, but hey, usually anyways, we usually have a milder time of it from this year until, or from this part of the year until about March, than the rest of Canada. But one place where it does tend to get cold and snowy and you can skate on the rivers and creeks if you'd like, Ottawa. So, Ryan Reynolds is interested in buying the Sens, so that didn't take long, did it? That it's rumored that the Melnicks are putting the team up for sale. It gets confirmed that they're going to put the team up for sale, and now you've got a major celebrity in Ryan Reynolds. Just think of the Deadpool tie-in you could have there potentially, and again, that's not a deal you'd make with Reynolds. It's a deal you'd be making with Disney, Marvel, but seriously, the colors are already Deadpool colors. It could work. So, and I'm even using the jersey that's not their current one, just as proof. The red and black, Deadpool red and black. Yep, it works. And for that reason alone, I say give him the team. Just Ryan Reynolds. That'd be great. So we'll see if that ends up happening. For Canuck fans thinking, well, we'd like to see him buy the Canucks. I don't know what to tell you. Aquilini, very, very highly unlikely that he will sell the team at any point soon. And so, Reynolds buying the Sens would have put them in the top three teams for me. Had to be close. Ryan Reynolds is one of my favorite actors, so even though in every movie he's still Ryan Reynolds, but it's good. And if you watch my review of the movie Barbarian on the Entertainment Guy channel, you know what I mean. There's certain actors that just they aren't actually new characters. You're like, oh, this is an interesting Nick Cage movie. What character is he? He's Nick Cage. What do you mean character? So, moving on from Sens news, and hey, hopefully we hear more about ownership and what's going to happen there. The idea is that it'll probably be taking place kind of quickly. And it's going to be dependent, of course, on the LeBreton Flats project, as I said in a recent video as well. Now, injury news. For the Boston Bruins, not great news. Swayman and Forbort returning to Boston in order to be evaluated. They're both seen as week to week. Swayman's injury didn't look great. It's one of those injuries that can keep a goalie out for a while, hurt your lateral movement kind of thing, if it's what it looked like. It looked like strained groin or hyperextended. And so we'll see what happens there. They've called up Keith Kincaid. They're against the Rangers tonight. I actually wouldn't mind seeing Kincaid against the Rangers. I know it'll end up being Ullmark, but hey, person can dream. So yeah, Forbort being out, that kind of hurts. Forbort's been off to a very good start. His numbers have been solid, both offensively, defensively. I'm pretty sure the advanced stats are good for him too, because he's been all over the ice and he's been very effective. So hopefully they're not out too long. This is where, if McAvoy could come back faster, that'd be even great. Hall of Fame news related to the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers Hall of Fame inducts two, Ryan Smith and Lee Fogolin. Now, Lee Fogolin, I'd love to do a career video on at some point. I likely will. Lee, that's one of those ones too where really the videos that I really enjoy putting together are the career videos a lot of the time. I enjoy talking about players from the past that the younger folk may not know of. Those videos don't get very many views, and so during the regular season when there's so much else to talk about, they often get pushed off to the side. But Lee Fogolin had an interesting career. Ryan Smith, of course, I've done a video on him. I need to make sure I change that so it's the right Ryan Smith spelling. Not an I, with a Y. I make that mistake here and there. See, and then I'll mess up and there'll be a Smith, which is with an I, and I'll spell it with a Y just to make up for it. But yeah, so them both going into the Hall of Fame. Ryan Smith, that's a no-brainer for an Oilers Hall of Fame. And yeah, every team should have their own Hall of Fame and have their own Circle of Honor, Ring of Honor, like we have in Vancouver. It's kind of fun to have, where you can go into the building, look up, and see the names of players that you watched growing up, which is what I have when I go to Vancouver games. So yeah, that's going to be fun to watch, and probably be a pre-game ceremony. Might delay puck drop a little bit, wouldn't surprise me. Tage Thompson has set, well, not a record, but he's equaled a number that hasn't been seen in Buffalo in a while, with 10 points in the last 3 games. He's the first Buffalo Sabre to get 10 points in a 3-game stretch since Maxim Afinogenov in 2006-2007. Sabres were pretty good back in 06-07, and I'm hoping that the Sabres, now that they're 7-3, that we start seeing those tickets sell. A lot of empty seats at Buffalo games, and I understand why. I get it, but this team, it feels like, is different, and it feels like they're in for a good long run now. I really do believe that the Buffalo Sabres this year can be different. And so, yeah, hopefully that building starts to fill up. It's a lot of fun watching Sabres games this year. And remember, they had a good run last year to finish the season, too. Good sighting at Canucks practice today. Kevin BX out skating. And he didn't look bad, and he did. He looked good. So the Canucks could use a defenseman. He is on that one-day contract. I honestly, if the Canucks came out tomorrow and said, we decided to give BX a tryout, he looked good, I don't know that I would bat an eye at that right now. I really don't know. There are so many injuries, and of course now it looks like Höglander's going to be a healthy scratch tonight, so we'll have that conversation again for Vancouver fans. But yeah, it's nice to see BX at practice and see him out there skating around. Kind of a shame he's no longer a Canuck. I know he's retiring as one, but it's a shame he's not an active Canuck. Sarah Orlesky reporting that Nick Ehlers' recovery has been slower than expected by the Jets. Ehlers is a very important person in Winnipeg's lineup. He's a solid player. His work ethic's fantastic. Good at both ends of the ice. He can score. He can check. And he's missed by the Jets. The Jets have a 5-3-1 record right now. They're doing well, but they would do better, I do believe, with Ehlers in the lineup. So hopefully, whatever setbacks he suffered, those get pushed by the wayside sooner rather than later, and he's back playing for the Jets also sooner rather than later, right? Shane Wright. So this is the status thing, and it's interesting. I did consume some, and I often get asked, like, well, which channels do you like the most, when you're not doing your hockey videos? Honestly, I don't consume hockey media hardly at all. I do at times, I'll listen to, like, NHL radio when we're in the van, we're going on a trip, usually just to argue with the radio. There's a lot of me turning to my wife and going, they aren't really watching that team if that's their opinion, but that's fine. Because there's people that make that same statement on the channel here for me. But, yeah, It is one of those things with Shane Wright right now where people are, I think, overanalyzing it a little bit. So Shane Wright's been a healthy scratch 4 games in a row. I agree that his development is important. I think with Seattle, I think they're stuck in an unfortunate position here. Sending him back to juniors, he's probably seen as too good for juniors. That being back in juniors, and again, this is me speculating, but since everybody else is speculating, I'll speculate as well. Since they may feel like he has nothing left to prove in juniors, they can train him, they can work with him, they can work with him on whatever skill things he needs to work on. I'd rather see him in games too, and I'd rather see him get more ice time than what he gets as well. But I am also a proponent of players earning that ice time. He can't be sent to the AHL. I think if they could send him to Coachella Valley, I think he'd be in Coachella Valley right now. It may end up with them sending him down to the OHL anyways. They may decide to do that before he's past the 9 games played threshold. And we've seen that happen with rookies before, where a GM might be on the fence, like, I don't know if I'm going to keep this guy or not, so we'll make him a healthy scratch so I can get a better decision, or a better informed decision on this, and he'll talk to trainers, talk to the coach, but where the guy's at. And so leaving a guy a healthy scratch means that he doesn't play that 9th game and you don't have to make that decision immediately. So that can be going on as well. I'm not worried about his status at this point. I've seen it happen with other players. I remember when Tyler Seguin was a rookie in Boston, I didn't feel like he was getting enough ice time. I felt like he was a healthy scratch in the playoffs at the wrong time. And I was very loud at the time. Didn't have a channel, but I was loud on my own about how I thought Claude Julien was ruining the development of Tyler Seguin, and the Bruins were screwing it up, and then he had a really good career and everything was okay. So what's going on with Shane Wright, it just reminds me a lot of the same feeling. And I think Seattle understands how important this is, and that's why they're not rushing a decision on it. It may very well he ends up back in the OHL if that's the best choice for him. But, I mean, he hasn't complained publicly that we've seen. I don't think there's a whole lot there. And again, I think he's going to lose a year in development. Well, not really, because unlike the lost time that players had during the pandemic, he's working with trainers, he's working with players, he's at practice, he's doing all the drills, he's doing it. And it's not the same as game action. I agree, but I think the idea that, they're destroying him. No, I've seen teams destroy players by putting them in really prime spots right out of the gate and just having them get annihilated by NHL competition. So I'm going to defer on this one a little bit and say, let's be patient with Seattle and with Shane Wright and see what they do. I think the assumption that a kid at 18 is destroyed is odd, or that it's really, really harming him at this point. I really think that Seattle had the opinion that he was going to play the whole year. I think there were some holes in his game that they saw when he played. Again, I'm just going through speculation, but it's just from watching hockey as long as I have. And so now they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with him. And so, again, if you make him a healthy scratch, then you have more time to have him work with trainers. You have more time to decide what gets done. And again, I think the due diligence and making sure the right decision is made is more important than making a fast decision. Those are two separate things, in my opinion. But you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I always try to stay as reasonable as possible. And so I was listening to discussions on this, and then I listened to some discussions on the Vancouver Canucks and all the screaming and yelling fans are doing, and I was like, man, I'm so not a part of that. So anyways, there you go. Getting into last night's action, we saw the Pittsburgh Penguins for the second time on 2 straight nights lose leads in the third period, multi-goal leads in the third period. And with Pittsburgh, the body language with them is odd. This is a good team. This is a good team with some great players. Now, are there speed issues here and there? Sure. You've got some older guys. That's going to happen. But they're a good team. There's no reason they should lose 6 in a row, and especially the way they've lost their last 2. But there definitely seems to be an issue with focus. So once that they had the 3-1 lead, and then it was 3-2 Buffalo, and then that's it. They lost. And against Boston, they had a 5-2 lead. Boston makes it 5-3, and then from there, yeah, they lost. There's a problem here where once that momentum shifts against them, they're not able to make that shift back. They're not able to get that goal back. They're not able to get that mojo back that got them lead in the first place. So with Pittsburgh, that's their main concern right now. It's the same thing we've seen in Vancouver. We've seen other teams have that problem as well. Because while there are a lot of comeback victories in the NHL early this season, it does seem to be happening to the same teams over and over again. So Pittsburgh's got to turn that around. And the good news is there's time to do so. The bad news is the season is very compact and it can pass very, very quickly. And so Pittsburgh has to figure this out, I would say, over the next 2 weeks before they're in serious trouble. They're in the Metro. They're in the East. We know that it's going to take a ton of points to make the playoffs in the East. You don't want to fall behind and have to claw your way back into the running. Montreal, as we get close to 11 o'clock, there's going to be somebody on waivers from Montreal today, which I haven't been reporting on waiver wire players because they've all passed through. The guys haven't got claimed, and if one does, I just report on it when it happens, like Kiefer Bellows. But yeah, so Edmondson's coming back tonight for the Montreal Canadiens, meaning that they're going to have to put somebody on waivers to stay at the roster number and the NHL likes, and for salary cap reasons as well. And so, yeah, Edmondson coming back will help their blue line a lot. We'll see who they waive and if that player ends up clearing. But there are a number of players they could pick. And again, while it's kind of newsworthy if a guy goes on waivers, if he clears it, it's not as newsworthy. And lately, players have been clearing waivers a lot more than not. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.